make a start. Got a lot of good content to get through, so yeah, let's make a start. So welcome everyone. My name is Philip. I'm the Chief Experience Officer at Facilitate, and with me today is Judith Hewitton from Reality Learning. Welcome, Judith.
Hi everyone.
So yeah, let's get started. A couple of hygiene items before we get going. So look, we have a Q&A session at the end, so by all means post your questions in. But if you've got stuff as we go through, Judith, is it okay if they put them in the chat and then I can ask you if it's appropriate? Yep, as we go through.
That's great.
Yeah, great. Cool. Great. So if there's anything topical that Judith is talking about and you'd like, you think of a question, please feel free to pop it in the chat. You should all be able to have the chat functionality. Let me know if that doesn't work. And I'll monitor that, Judith, as we go, and then I'll just let you know if we've got something. And we'll go from there. Cool. So a couple of business intros. So we Facilitate. So most of our participants should have heard of us. So yep, founded in Perth. And our mission really is to positively impact over 1 billion lives through better learning and training. There's a lot of learning and training out there, as you probably all know, and a lot of it is not very good. So certainly VR can help with some of that. And that's really the purpose of why we exist. I'll have a quick do a quick intro here, Judith. So I hope I do justice. So we've got some fantastic company logos there, as you can see. So some of that great work that they've done at Reality Learning. So Judith is the founder and really specialist in digital learning and their mission to create a braver world. So maybe Judith can tell us a little bit more about that as we get going, but certainly sounds very intriguing. But yeah, a lot of great work with corporates, not-for-profits, government, as you can see there. And Judith herself. Sorry, is it Jude or is it Judith?
Jude will be fine.
Jude, okay,
yeah,
yep.
That's
so
fine.
Jude, obviously over 20 years of experience in virtual learning technologies. So not just VR, but obviously a lot of the digital technologies out there. And a lot of the work that, again, you'll see on their website, very interesting stuff around breaking down cultural barriers and barriers of perspective and barriers of meaning. So very complex stuff to do there. They've done some really great work. So yeah, Reality Learning Facilitate partners. So very honoured to have Jude with us today to talk about learning design. So we'll jump in just a second. One thing I will do is set a little poll question here. So just to get a bit of a sense for us more than anything where people are at. So let me just launch that for you. So that should pop up for you all. If you could all just take a second to tell us a bit about your use case, that would be great. And I believe, Jude, you said you'd be talking a lot about the something else one, as opposed to the other. Yeah. The other basket.
Yeah.
That's always good. So yeah.
Inductive, right.
Oh yeah. Okay. Some great insights coming in. Thanks, guys. So looking 50% for the two in the middle and 8% for the location base, 33 for the something else. Yeah, a couple more votes coming in. Yeah, so it looks like the bulk of it is for the two in the middle, the training and the interpersonal interactions, and then the rest of them in the something else category. So yeah, fantastic. Okay, thanks for that, guys. Without further ado, I will hand over to Jude, and then she'll take us through the rest of the session. I'll jump back on at the end, and we'll have one more poll question and the Q&A session. Now I'll just stop sharing, Jude, and then you should be able to share your screen.
Let's see how we go.
Yeah.
Oops. Here we go. Stop sharing. Oh, I haven't got the.
Oh, sorry. Yep. No, I'm sharing the poll results. No.
Yeah.
Try again now. Yep, that should work for you.
Okay. And we need the sound.
That's coming through.
Okay, so we'll be able to hear sound from the videos.
We should be able to. Yeah. Yep. Are you sharing yet? I haven't.
Yeah.
Does it come up? Does it come up for everyone? I don't see it yet.
No.
No, I can't see anything. You want to just try that one again?
Okay. Share screen.
There we go. That's the one.
Right. Just make sure you get the.
Just need to maximize your
Yeah, I'll be
your
doing
browser.
that.
You can do F11, I think. Oh yeah, that's the one. Yep. There we go. Yeah.
Hey, that's fine. Thanks. So, hi everyone. To begin with, sorry about that, but what we're going to do today is go through the learning journey, and I can't cover everything in VR, of course, but we're looking at the design impact across that journey. So we're going to be looking at the beginning, where you are getting prepared and the learner into unlearning and prepared for learning, and then the stage of where you get into getting some new information, the acquisition, and then the practice and actually putting it into real life. So of course what we're here for is because there is such a big growth happening, and the hardware is changing. And the main, I think the big challenges for us is how to make it easier when the skills, and how to make it easier for the users when the hardware is an issue, and how to make it easier for learning designers when there are so many different options you have about what to use when. So I'm going to be talking about an approach, really. Then we also need to consider the learning profile of the users and the cost. So I think one of the things is just to zoom first out into your organization. Let's get rid of one of the barriers. When you actually are choosing what sort of VR and that, how does it fit in with your organization's culture and the organization's vision, I guess? So I can just give you a little bit of an example. I did the same new technologies and learning design into Indigenous communities here and into China communities, and one failed and one succeeded. And the one that succeeded was where the Beijing government actually supported it, because economically they needed all this training done to save them money in disasters. So it was supported, whereas in the Indigenous Australian context, it was seen as too risky, and it at that point, and it was difficult for it to get uptake here. So it's just that down, what does your top level, what's your organization culture, what do they need out of this? Make sure your design choices fit into that. It just makes it easier. I think part of the role of the designer is not just designing programs, but you're interfacing between learners, and you're building people's curiosity intelligence so that you're creating learners who want to learn. And then you're also providing the skills and knowledge, but it's for the real world impact. But I think it's more like thinking of ourselves as interface rather than as we are the providers. And that might be interesting to see what you think about that.
Mm-hmm.
So the first part, of course, is the unlearning and personal meaning, trying to build that where the topic is of interest to people. And that is before you can even start teaching. And this is typical. I mean, this is the same for 2D. You need to have the learner being ready, and they have to be able to maybe shift some of their assumptions and their the way they think about things in order to be ready for learning. Now I'm just going to shift this to preview. I'm sorry, it was on. I'll just race down here. So one of the things of actually shifting people is to get them engaged, is using the emotional engagement. And that is before you can actually get them to take in new information. So to make it also meaningful learning to them. And behavior change communication centers around emotional engagement. So let's just go straight to emotional engagement. Story, historically, always. People have learned through story and the narrative. You get involved, the hook, the plot, the characters, the experience, the empathy, and you find some personal meaning in the story that relates to you. So story is a great way to bring people into being engaged, ready for learning, and engaged in learning content itself. So VR is a behavior change tool, and add it to story and you've increased the power dramatically. and just let you have a look at that, about the difference of connection felt to learning with those who had VR experiences compared to e-learning and classroom. Now, any little stats that get thrown up, don't take them all too seriously. You could go and search anywhere and you'll find lots of stats that support this sort of thing. It's not like this is the best stat in the world, but it's no doubt about it that connection to the learning content happens more in VR.
Mm.
And this is because of what VR has different to 2D and other ways of presenting things is the presence. So the presence is really about feeling physically and mentally part of a virtual world so that you actually forget about the world around you. You are focused in this new world. And through the engagement there, you are becoming more empathetic and you are connecting more with other perspectives and other people and other content. And so you are actually learning more. So if we look at the different items in the presence, it's the emotional immersion. And that's being so that when you're in the scene, you're in the VR experience, you are feeling the emotions and you're reacting to it emotionally. And it's in a controlled manner. So we're not trying to build things that send people into emotional trauma, but it's controlled to go to the objectives. Empathy, if you are taking in other perspectives like you do in VR, you take in other people's perspectives, then you're getting more connection happening. And then that's more connection with the content. And the physical engagement, you can show the empathy via actions, how you react, how you act within the VR experience, and how you're responding to the emotion that what you are seeing. So it depends on a bit of hard skills and soft skills there. The spatial is so you can get the context, so you can actually feel the location of where you are. So you are actually in that 3D space and feeling and seeing what the location, what the context is like. And that's very hard for learning, to put people into actually seeing the context of where they're going to apply their learning and where they are learning from, what sort of conditions are they learning in. And of course, if you've got strong sense of presence with the physical, the spatial, the context, the empathy, the emotional, you're going to have better recall. And that's why most of you would probably be using VR, so that people remember, oh, that experience, that was interesting. And then they can recall what it was like and what they learnt. And the reduced distraction, which basically, if you are in another world, you are going to have all your emotions and your sense of being and your taking the information and experience in is going to be increased. So the narrative impact with presence also, as we said, the story gets people engaged and emotionally with you. And so VR with story actually increases that total experience of getting ready for learning and in fact learning. So people connect, understand more perspectives and remember more deeply when they have their emotions involved, and so they can overcome some of the barriers to the learning. So look, this is a spectrum. So when because we're talking about being in presence in a situation, but there's different levels of that, whether you're doing it through 2D or right through to with the headset, and then you're doing it with tracking, responding, and whether you're doing it with walking, locomotion, that you are involved in the VR. It's the whole spectrum of immersiveness that is actually like a spectrum of being present. But I would say think blended. Each of these have their own benefits, and each of these, if used and designed in a way, can bring about a sense of I'm in it, I'm immersed. Some more than others, of course, but you can structure, like if you're doing a 2D film versus a 3D film, you can structure the plot and the story and the characters around so that you are getting people feeling engaged, immersed, and emotionally responding. But compared to the 3D, where you just put a headset on and you're in it, so don't just block out 2D and go, it has to be all just one. And then, of course, you can have simple training and you go, oh, this is going to be simple, but you've always got the issue in a way of the learner. And as adult learners, you're bringing along a lot of baggage with you. Like today, how many of you are going like, oh, I should be doing something else? I'm multi-skilling here. This is not my priority. I was told to come. Or I know what I do VR and I do it really well and I have a position on it and I'm not going to use it this way. So you've already set your mind to how you do it. And we haven't got headsets today, so I can't put you in where you actually can experience what I'm talking about and go, oh, I understand. I feel that I'm in the environment, so that you've arrived at this without that pre-preparation of getting ready to take in anything new. So there's also all this list, and like I had one with doctors, and they have what I call the expert syndrome. I'm just using that as an example. Could be anyone who has a feeling of they have that expert, and it's going to be hard to change that. And so they would go, oh, great little list here. How many dot points are there? Well, let's say 8. That will do me. That's all I need to know. And in fact, do they actually read it? Do they actually take it in? And is it, you've given the information, but is it any help? So this is where the thing of preparing people and getting everyone on the same page, ready, open to learn, is why you can have simple training content, but it might not be that simple because of the learner group or the context of where they are. And I think one of the things is, how much of the barriers or attitudes and beliefs and that do you need to shift in the learner before they start the learning? And maybe it's not much, but your content's going to be complex. So there's sort of many ways of making what could appear simple learning as complex. So here we go with just an example of preparing for getting ready to learn. And this is getting into the story. And you'll see this lovely little lady up there who appears generically on every slide. You can put your own face, whatever you want to put in there. Let me just tell you, we used a 3D story to create a program where people could come in and experience being a refugee and meeting a refugee face to face, in order to bring that as a new work area for occupational therapists. It's been a work area they've never been in, really. And so it was sort of preparing all that in a safe environment where they would normally are not able to access that sort of context or those people. And it again is they would have to unlearn a lot of their clinical way of practicing their skills in a hospital or in a community center. So this is working in a totally different environment that we were preparing for them. So yes, the content was complex. But part of making this 3D introduction to the training, so we could bring everyone on the same page, was also to help the people who were in the film, who were the experts because of lived experience and were collaborating in this, to understand what we were doing with VR. And I think that's often the case too. If you're going to make VR programs, think of who you're involving. If you're not involving actors, think of, how you're going to bring them in and to understand what you're doing. So this was early on in the piece, and it was a relationship starting to happen between Sohal here and Theo, who was a professional helping him. So this is just prepared to show them what 360 was like and a little bit about what they were starting to talk about. I'll just play that. It's 360, so I'll sort of turn it around a little bit, but you all know what that's like.
Great.
I gather you've got music.
No, actually, I can't hear any audio.
Okay. Excuse me a moment.
You might have to switch your
Yep.
mic to your,
Here we go.
your system.
Try this now. Music now?
Got it. Yep.
Great. Okay, we're off.
I don't want to assimilate people. My big dream and my ambition is everyone to live the life that they want to live. You leave a country, you are forced to leave a country due to fear, due to war or due to conflict, or because you are threatened of someone or something, or of a regime or not.
You know, you're alone in another country in which you don't know anyone. And you only have your brothers, and you feel like, what am I gonna do now? You don't have anything to do, and you feel depressed. But if if you have something to do, you don't feel that bad.
They get to work on more higher risk stuff, where they get to face their own fears and limitations, and also realize that they have talents and gifts and abilities that they might not have known they had.
It kind of made who I am right now. When we were giving up, he would take us up and say, you shouldn't give up.
All people, regardless of being a refugee or not, they want to have a meaningful life, and they need to feel that they are useful and they use their skills and the maximum of their potentials.
So at first, I wanted to learn computers and astronomy together. When I learn both of them, I will be able to apply for a job in NASA. He prepared us for stuff that was going to come. He was really inspiring. Your night will become a day, one day.
Right.
Fantastic.
So that was then the film was completed, which for headsets, and that was where the occupational therapists had that aha moment. Oh, they could understand the personal aspect. And so the course was working with displaced persons, and it's a suite of courses for them. But here are the things that came out of it. You can read those. It's everyone's on the same page. The learning became personally meaningful, and they could see that it was important to do. So you're starting to get that self-motivated. We want to know more. And then it's also starting to shift those assumptions and attitudes. So the adult learners are now able to be engaged, open, and to acquire new workplaces, practices. Okay, so it's the wake up call.
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
Sorry, just my thought. So with this sort of getting the learner ready, as you mentioned, so in a workplace setting as well, I guess, would it be correct to say you could apply this sort of thinking by doing a short piece in VR that sort of just hooks people, that draws people in, sort of shows them the technology and the power of the experiences that they can have, and then you go into the substantive chunks of learning. Is that correct? Or
that's right, Philip. It's that blended. I always we've got to sort of open our learning up, and I'll keep going with that sort of thing of opening up and blending how we design, but keeping it open, because you can prepare in a workplace with a short piece and then go into the other, but it's got to be streamlined. It's got to sort of go through as if it means one thing.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Yeah, are there any other questions to this point? So we're just sort of
nothing
talking
through
about
the chat at the moment, so yeah,
all
guys,
right,
if you've got any questions, please send them through in the chat.
Yeah, so we're just talking about moving people, getting rid of all the barriers we can possibly get rid of, opening people's up so they want to learn, and you're not dealing with people who are you have to have great tests for you don't rely on that. You rely on people wanting to learn, so trying to take that. So here we go, we're ready to acquire the new, and this is I think now you're talking with new technologies and VR and that, we're talking about experiential learning. Like even when we're not using VR, if we want to keep it as a streamlined feel or look and feel of your whole training program, and you're using all different things, 2D, text, images, all these things, which we'll show a bit here. You want it to have the same approach across the learning, so the learner isn't jumping all over the place with different sort of styles. So for including VR in your learning, I think you were looking at the experiential to deliver the learning objects. So it's the same with 2D, you know, what content do they have to change the behavior and achieve the objects? And what do they need to do this? So there's no new stuff there, but it's the way you actually do this. And understand that learners now, we don't just look at one place, you know, one course or one module or one experience or one person to deliver learning. You know, learners are looking everywhere, and they're going to get incidental learning and training from other areas as well as in your programs. So basically you don't have to put your content up as the most important thing. But I really sort of am saying the content's last in a way. If you have to break that thinking, instead of content first, go content is last. What's the journey of the learner to get to where they go? And then what's the experiential stuff I'm going to build to take them on that journey, to allow them to have the agency over what they're going to and where they're going to find what they need to get there. So instead of prescribing it by going, this content will get you there. One is, even if we've broken down that learners will come in and learn that content because we've prepared them for it with VR or some other way. The other is that's not how people learn now. It's changed, and especially, you know, even since COVID, everything's changed in that way. So we're on to the learner's journey. They only take up a certain amount, let's say 20% of your content. The rest you can chuck and go into the experiential, and you're leading the learners to find out in all their different ways. So there are all the books lined up, and we're getting rid of those. And now we go into the blended and experiential learning. So with that spectrum of tools that you can use in media tools, we are going to now look at some that create that blended in a 3D. So this first one is, I'm using this refugee story, Night Becomes Day, as a thread. Okay, it's not that that's the only thing we do, but it's just a way of trying to give you one example a little bit through. This is one of the refugees was Narcom's asylum seeker, and he was an artist. So we used that to build a 3D environment. And this, you can go in with your headset and go right in and walk around and move, or you can go, it's 3D on any device. So access is a very important thing. And that's the thing where it's no point building something that people can't access, or give them multiple access points. And so this is one that, you know, you can do multiple levels of immersion, of being present, but you will get some immersion, and it's fun. And, you know, there's some play in it. There's some interesting like that. So in this gallery, which we'll go to, you can blend 2D, VR, there's links to information, different pathways, and it's a virtual meeting place. And I'll just play you the introduction, and then I'll be sending links to you so you can go in and with the film and with the gallery, etc., in your own time and experiment, practice around.
Fantastic,
okay.
Thank you.
So you could see that actually they Narcom ended up seeing things with the VR headset, etc. in the end. And look, you can do those sort of 3D environments with that. We use Mozilla hubs there because at that time that's what was available that the client could take. But the platforms and facilitates platforms and the options you can do to build there. But we're just talking about the designs and the looks and feels. This is the other example where it's less immersive, and it's using like that 360 over where you move through environments. So it's a story of places, looking at sustainable cities, and this one was in Barcelona and Europe, and you're moving through 360 maps, videos, slides, you're clicking and dragging. You've got 3D models or AR, and you could have audio or video and text to drill down. So there's the text, video, maps, and environments, and walking through. So that's, and again, I'll send you to the super blocks, I'll send you a link and you can go in and try that interactive exercise that is like with 2D really, but and 360.
Great.
Less immersive, but it's like gives the person agency to take them wherever they want.
Mm-hmm.
And then for those who use VR to go through, places, and I guess probably everyone's done this or been, seeing it where it's like bringing people through a context and then they get some information, walking through. And this was done with a dolly. So that's that sort of thing. And I think a lot of you would have used that sort of thing of setting up place. Great. So now we've sort of got people who are sort of got the information content being brought through and looking at 2D, 360, VR, and all these things, but going for an approach that is experiential and it's more open, and understanding that learners are actually going to be picking up knowledge in a lot of different areas. So that's where it's building up that curiosity, intelligence is important. And we're into the practicing and applying the new skills. One of the biggest things about this, I think, is that building up confidence that you can do it in the real world if you've done it within this safe world. And that's there's also the thing of training and learning the new skills, but that confidence is a big issue of that. So this is what you were talking a bit about, Philip, which was external to VR. You can be practicing. So this is where Global Frontline they put on the headsets and you go through a 360 event, and where people are in it and they can see what they're missing, what can they see, and then they take the headsets off and discuss in a live face-to-face situation what happened, what did you learn, and exchange there with that.
Yeah.
And then if this is just looking at, because we're talking VR, but in fact, blend it with others. So that is one where you're blending with live face-to-face. And then what we use in an online situation is more like train the trainer approach. So to put it into practice, to develop the confidence and to translate some of the information you've taken in and problem solve and advise other people. So it's got that train the trainer approach, that if you can advise someone else in what is presented in a lot of different real life situations, and you can problem solve and advise another professional, you have probably learnt your content that's come through. So this one was just a virtual organization we set up of VREUS, which was training volunteers to go out and volunteer in all the disasters, and in 3 different disasters in 3 different countries. And so they arrive, and the website's set up so you're following them as if in real time. And at each point there is some new thing, disaster and thing that happens to them. And the participants with their role of a trainee volunteer are advising them.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's that top of the Bloom's taxonomy, isn't it? It's the creation piece, isn't it? Almost, yeah, where the learner, you learn by actually being the trainer and advising.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. That's exactly it. So you're communicating with the characters in that way, and you can do it through different technologies, but you can do it just through posting as well. But you're communicating, and you're part of the unfolding story in that way.
Yeah, you're right in the narrative. Yep.
You're right fantastic. In the narrative. So there's different ways of applying your knowledge or practicing and getting the confidence up. And of course, in a virtual reality headset, and that is top immersion. But if you're not going to do that, you're going to use it for preparing people to learn or part of delivering your learning content. You can use other methods. And this is the ones that you're more familiar with, where we have the controllers and we can have the physical movements that we do become part of the scene. Yep. So that's the highly immersive one. But there are other options to play with. But it's all been designed and delivered in a congruent way, in the same, as I said, feel of we are experiencing, we are getting into it, we are choosing, we have agency as learners to find out and to take control of it. So I think like learners, designers also have, they too are sourcing knowledge and skills externally. It's not like learners are different from ourselves. And we're collaborating and working with different platforms and different people and sourcing ways to do things, to think creatively about how to do it without just saying the content is this, we have to deliver that content, the learners have to tick off on it.
Yeah.
We are now saying learners are on a journey and we better join their journey, or it will be irrelevant. They will just go thank you and then not do it anyway. So that's the thing of that, if keeping up with the learners in order to get the impact that you want. So my question is whether it's a myth that workplace training is simple. I don't think it is, but I could be wrong because I come from a, like you say, maybe it's a more complex area, but we also do very, like simple training content, but it could be where the cultures are really different. The learners' prior experience is really different. They have disability, or they are totally unmotivated. And people say, how can we get our learners to become motivated and do it because they're not doing it? So I think even what looks simple is complex, either because of the context you're delivering into, the context, the money and resources you have to make the learning, or the learning content itself is not so simple, or the users themselves are complex in a way. They have a lot of barriers or complexities that you have to work with. So you can actually write the best learning design looking course and it isn't taken up. It doesn't result in behavior change in the workplace, but looks good. And that's the difference. I think we have to go on the learner's journey and not bring them to ours. Now, just to finish off with the return on investment for doing all this work and having to go, right, I can't, if I'm not going to just write simply and make training to a format and a template, there better be some return on it.
Absolutely.
So for VR, for funders, there is, the more people you have learning, of course, the more cost effective it is than like a classroom. So that, and it can reach more people. I'll go into an example there. For learners, it's for them, you know, yep, the return is it's faster. I'm more emotionally connected. I enjoy it more. I'm engaged. I'm more focused. So I'm taking it up more. I'm retaining more. I can go out to the workplace and I can feel, you know, more confident to actually put it into place. So that's good news for them. And for the organization, for the company, you know, when you've got those people issues and you're trying to get them engaged, then VR will pay off and your productivity as a company can increase because of that. You've got more engaged workforce and there'll be a lot of other reasons. As I said, I'm just giving guides of bits, not covering the whole thing of company changes to
Of course,
update. Yeah.
No, that's great.
So I think the role of us as designers is to look at the impact of a blended approach and the doability of it. So in the first part of the journey was getting learners ready, and you can use 3D passive like we did with the film, or you can go through to high immersive experience with headsets. And I mean, you know, we use the headset, but part of the thing there was, if you're doing across different levels of immersion, then when you're writing a script, for instance, for the 2D film, and it's got to also go and work for a 3D film, so people can access it from different hardware and what they've got, then that's very difficult. There's compromise because of what works with 2D is a lot of verbal and people talking. Oh, you know, they talk about what they saw and all that. And what works for a virtual reality film is just visual, not the talking. So just that's one example of those compromises. And in the second one, where we're acquiring you, open up, experiential, give agency, and not content driven. And it can be 2D interactive through to VR and blended, but 2D interactivity can engage and be open. And the third one is the doing, the application. And as we saw, it can be high interactive with VR or into external options to practice. So my thing is it doable for you? If you feel like, no, it's not, then look out, like learners, and just look out and find people and expertise and platforms that make it simpler. And if you say yes with help, again, look out. And also, if not, use 2D, make it interactive, make it experiential, grab some of those benefits of learning design with VR and pull them into some of that 2D tools. So you're giving a different approach to the way you use your 2D tools in learning. So, and if you can, but have funds that are an issue, then try to see what other ways you can make it benefit for return on investment. And I'm just going to give you quickly finish off. I'm just taking Sohal here, and we go that it made a course, a development. It also, from that one film, so one VR asset, it makes a course with disaster management, which you saw, human rights. It also has gone into schools, and the course is on refugees as a teenager. So it's using that aspect. And then NARCMS has become part of a course for social work. So one VR asset that costs money and time to do can have multiple programs, multiple different learning outcomes in each of those programs, and multiple different numbers and types of users. So you can see that it can have great impact, but also be a great investment. And that's the one
fantastic
that went to the schools. And these are the links coming your way. What have I got?
Yeah, awesome. Just on that slide you had before about the multiple uses, Jude, did you guys envisage these multiple uses before you started creating, or was it a sort of ad hoc,
No, it's something that we, I guess, have always done, is like when you make because we we use visual communication as an essential way of communicating. So little text and a lot of visual and interactive communication. Simply because, Philip, we've been working with people from across the world with different cultures and backgrounds and a whole variety of past experiences that to bring people into the same thinking, and that the visual communication has always worked. So film. So each time you're making a program and you go, okay, that's got these characters, I can take that character out and use that character here, or it's got different events and I can split those events up and make different things. So at the moment we are also, apart from the programs, so it's that thinking's built in before we start.
Yeah, of course. Yep.
But we're taking now the case studies out as little mini micro learning for lecturers to use in another way. So it's giving people open way to access, as I was saying about information. They don't just access one course, one provider, one thing. Open way, lots. And the Narkins Gallery has more courses up there now in there. And so it's like going, here's a whole menu. And it's interactive and it's engaging, so people go into it.
Yeah, they can engage in whichever way suits them. Yeah, no, fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. So I can send anything else through to people as well if anyone has any areas they would like to explore more.
Yeah, sure. No, that's fantastic. Thank you, Jude. We'll obviously have the recording available for everyone and so forth. And yeah, definitely. But reach out certainly if you've got more questions for Jude. But while we've still got her, we've got a little bit of time left. Yeah, please send through any questions, comments, and we can get into them now. So while people are just thinking about some questions, one I've got for you, Jude, can you speak a little bit more about, that continuum you had of sort of low immersion, simple text on a 2D page, like a book, I suppose, all the way through to your 6 degrees of freedom where your motor skills are sort of being applied and all that stuff. Yeah, can you just speak a little bit more about that continuum, I guess, just from your experience? Probably about in the middle somewhere. Might have been in that second section, yeah. Just in terms of, obviously the highly immersive end of that spectrum costs more effort, to develop content there. Just trying to get your sense on, when do you see it appropriate to position where on that spectrum, or do you take a little bit from the bottom and a bit from the top and mash it together as opposed to that, or what's your sense on that?
I think a lot, we are guided by budgets. And so having realistically, how big is this going to be? What's the impact? And how much do we need to change our learners? And that sort of guides a little bit about how much immersion and which way you go. And also how many attitudes and things do you need to change in your learners before they can start? So you can say like an introductory video might actually do that because your learners are really, are onto it and want to be engaged. And so all they need is to come on to getting into this particular course. So it could be a 2D introductory video in that way to get people into it. But if you've got a different a global thing and a different audience of people who have motivation issues about getting in, then up on the high end of the spectrum of immersion. So you could just look at it like, immersion from this end to that end. How much do we need to get everyone into the training? And then you can use the low end with interactivity. So if you use video and you're making it interactive, that's more, that's better.
Beefs it up, yeah, makes sense, yeah. Yeah, it presupposes a good understanding of the audience, as you've already mentioned, doesn't it? So you really do need to know what mindset is the learner in. Are they motivated? Are they not? Makes a world of difference.
I think also there's clients, like people who you're doing this for, whether it's your organization or external clients and that. we'd really like to, we want to disrupt something, we want to change the way people do things, we really want this. And in fact, when you start working with them, because they haven't been taught in an open experiential way, they don't trust it, you know. You sort of need to untrain your clients or your organization,
of course,
in order, because to actually do this style of learning, because in the end they will go, but we've got this content, we want this content driven.
We want the content. No, it's very true. I think a lot of our customers struggle with that a little bit as well when they're trying to introduce VR into the workplace. You know, you get a bit of that resistance. So
it's trying to say that the content isn't important, the learning journey is, the learner's journey is important, not the content. And it's very hard, because you know, people have spent a lot of time making the content,
of course,
and going, it's important, this point is important, is it?
No, absolutely. Yeah, that's really great perspective. So any questions? We haven't seen anything come through. I assume that the text is, the chat's working. So might give it another minute or so to see if there's any questions. Otherwise, we'll
if anyone wants to see any of the super blocks or anything, you can put that up now.
Perhaps. We've got a little bit of time, so maybe if you can do that, that'd be great. You can have a quick look at that while people are thinking.
Okay, so this is in this one is on the super blocks in Barcelona, and you have a drone going over, and then we come into the different pins that you can choose on. And here we have, I'm just going to move you, Philip, on there, just put you over here. So you can click and explore this is for urban designers, by the way.
I was just going to ask, who's this for?
Yes, and this is all about creating new cities, and that in especially this is all Europe based, RMIT Europe and that. And you look around, and then and then we have the video that starts, and he talks about each element that we've seen. And you have information that comes on as text about each specific bit, and then we go into another pedestrian area. So it's the same, and you can have, I won't go into it all, but and that's the sort of the super blocks and the sand dunes, and they all just take you into the place and you explore it.
No, that's fantastic. Excellent. We have a lot of options at our disposal as learning designers now, with technology where it's at. So that's fantastic.
And I think the learning options that you have in like one platform is great to have, so you can actually pull in all those different technologies and streamline it all in one.
No, absolutely. Definitely. That's great. Okay. Well, that's awesome. I might just share one more poll question before everyone leaves. This is just to get a bit of a sense of
I'll stop sharing.
Thanks. Of how people found their confidence levels after this. Just another one before people jump off as well. If you have any thoughts of any other topics that you'd like to explore, perhaps once again with Judith at a later date, or just in general, just pop them in the chat. We're always looking for interesting topics that resonate with people trying to create better learning. So feel free, or you can always email me. That facilitates certainly as well. We'll try and get something. All right, how are we going here with this poll?
I think the thing of being uncertain if you could do is what I was indicating that we can't do everything. We're one person or thing, but you know, the skills required, we have to be able to reach out and bring others in and other platforms in to help us do things. It's there's a lot of skills involved in VR and all the assets and that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, cool. That's great. I'll just share those results with everyone. So we just asked, how confident are you that you can design a VR learning experience? Sort of from I'm not confident at all to I'm very confident. And sort of, 50 in the middle, I'm uncertain, and 33 in the very confident, and only 17 in the not confident. So, no, that's great.
Well, reach out.
That's right. Yeah, we've done something here. So, oh yeah. So Mary, as a comment, the uncertain could mean that could be able to. Yeah. So I think what you're saying there, Mary, is that not as an individual. So that, obviously working as a team. So yeah, no, 100%. As Judith just said, there's a lot to it. So yeah. All right. Well, we're bang on time. So yeah, thank you, Jude. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone. And there's many ways of putting it in play. So keep curious.
Yeah, that curiosity is the key one, isn't it? You know, how can we reimagine something that's been done to death, but often quite poorly. So yeah.
Good.
Fantastic. All right, guys. Thanks. We've got the contact details. We'll be posting links to share this. If your other colleagues, would like a recording and all that, that'll all be shared in the next couple of days. So fantastic. Thank you to everyone who attended. Thanks again, Jude, and all the best.
Great. Thanks.
Take care, guys. Bye.